welcome to Pricing College with your hosts, Aidan Campbell
and Joanna Wells.
In today's episode, we want to talk about 5 common mistakes that salespeople in a B2B environment often make when going in to discuss projects or tenders with procurement.
Yeah, so look, negotiations, everyone knows, can be quite nerve-wracking. But we want to get to the bottom of what you can do to make things a bit better. But to do that, you've got to understand some of the common mistakes that maybe you make, salespeople make. So just going to cover some of those.
Yeah. And Joanna drew the first straw, or the short straw, so she has to cover 3 topics, whereas I only get 2.
Oh, okay. All right. So the first point I'm going to talk about is often salespeople can go into a negotiation with their heads full of details about the product. They think about the features and the benefits of the product. They think often about the value in use. I think we've covered this before in a different podcast, rather than maybe some of the problems that the customer may have, and that's why they're asking for those particular products. And I also think that a lot of salespeople go into negotiations trying to make friends with the other person when this isn't the right time to do that. So they often waste, maybe a quarter of their time, and you've got, say, an hour to really get to the point. Wasting it on trying to be likable and being liked, it really doesn't work in that context.
Okay, my go. Number 2. And this is to some extent based on personal experience. In many B2B companies, people in the sales area, they often do not know the pricing sheet. Certainly in a tender environment where there's very many products or services, they can go into the meeting. They've come from maybe a lower level of sales where it's more personality based, and they have a rate card, and it's been provided to them by the finance department or some other department. They really don't understand it, where they don't have any ability to move or negotiate on those prices. If there is pushback, they will have to leave the meeting and discuss it with somebody else. And that leads to a very unsatisfactory meeting. It gives them no real room to negotiate. But one thing we often see is the finance department are very wary in many companies of actually going to these meetings. They tend to be, a little bit fearful of that confrontation.
All right, so maybe another point I'd like to make is often salespeople can go into meetings with a fuzzy idea about the customer's business. And really that's unacceptable. You should be completely across what your customers do, how they operate, what their problems are. An excellent area to break the ice, to get to the nub of the problem, to see how your products and services can meet that need. And a lot of salespeople just don't know what those problems are. They don't know the objectives. And so then, therefore, you have very limited discussions that really don't mean anything to either party, and nobody can move forward from there.
Okay, my point 4, my second point. I often think that the sales personnel in that meeting, they feel they're between a rock and a hard place. I think the concept of the complaining salesperson is very common, but in many regards it is correct. So if they go into that meeting, they are given a rate card or to discuss the tender, they're almost going in there, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, hoping that the procurement team just agree to that rate card. If there is pushback in any way, the salesperson's company, their other stakeholders such as operations, etc., they will likely be very negative and bash that salesperson. So the salesperson feels that it's confrontational both ways. The procurement team, there's a confrontational aspect to it, and then their own company, when they get back to head office, they're in trouble there too.
Yeah, and that leads to knock-on effects, like, they go into the negotiation with pricing that's very, very similar to everybody else. Everybody's trying to get the lowest price, therefore commoditizing the whole market, the industry. It makes the negotiation quite pointless and difficult. And from there, you can seem kind of needy because you kind of know that's what everybody else is doing. So everybody's competing to the bottom. It's like a race to the bottom. And in so doing, you don't know subconsciously, actually that looks quite needy. You want the business, the procurement team knows that, and then you actually fall victim to all their techniques.
That's right. And I think techniques and framing is something we will discuss in our next episode. So, from a procurement, from today's procurement lesson, let's leave it there.
And just remember, we were going over some of the mistakes. I've seen some excellent work and negotiations being held by sales teams as well, and also cover that in another episode.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. Well, thank you and see you tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Bye.